Wholesale Hotline. I'm Brent Daniels.
I'm Jamil Damji.
And I'm Jerry Norton.
And I'm Pace Morby.
Every week we bring you the best information on real estate investing.
Be sure to participate in the comments.
And subscribe.
So thank you so much for calling Wholesale Hotline. That's it. Wow, that's great.
All right. Hello, everybody. We are live, and you have just Uncle Jerry today. We've got no Pace, no Jamil, no Brent. They're all traveling. They may jump on. I know Jamil's on the freeway heading back from LA. Pace has a flight delayed. Brent's, I think, on his way back from Flagstaff. So excited to be here with you guys. Thank you for making the time. I actually just landed back in Puerto Rico. I'm in my gazebo office back here in the great island. It's so fun to be back. We were gone pretty much all July, August, September, and up till now. So we were in our lake house in Montana. I got to see some of you this summer out at the community camps we did and other things going on. Then we did a little road trip. We were in Arizona for a week or so. We were in Utah for a week or so, and just made the big trip back. And it was brain damage. Like, my brain is literally scrambled eggs, because we did Salt Lake to Denver, Denver to Newark, New Jersey, Newark to Puerto Rico. And we did the red eye because that was the only flight we could find that accommodated us. So we literally were waking kids up in our layover in Newark from Denver to Newark at like 3 a.m. So imagine that, waking all the kids up. They were sleeping on the plane, and then we had to change over. We had to take the shuttle, but here we are. So excited to be here with you guys. What a fun summer it's been. What a fun year it's been. Excited to be in the business. Just feel so blessed, so grateful to be a part of this great community, to spend time with you guys, to create content and do deals. And man, I just feel like God has blessed me tremendously, and just so humble and so grateful for it. So guys, I want to make sure that we open this hour up to you. Luckily, Matt at Brent's office got this thing started. I actually don't have the controls to do much here, so I won't be able to really bring up comments or anything, but I can see them in the chats. So what I'd like to do is really open this time up to you. Usually there's some great banter and conversation and topics that we try to center things around, or, current news, things like that. So what I'd like to do, though, is just really make sure that you guys that come on this show every week, and especially the regulars that come on here all the time, that I try to give you some time. If you're new here, this is really great. Typically it's me, Jamil, Brent, and Pace, or a combination of the four. Sometimes all four, sometimes just one, like me today. But we really try to talk about all things wholesale, even branch into real estate, other types of real estate investing, other topics outside of just wholesale. But the focal point of this is wholesale real estate. That's kind of the foundation of this. And Jamil wants to know how I got so handsome. Jamil, it's just comes natural. I mean, I don't know. I don't really do anything. It just happens that way, I guess. Guys, did you watch the live that Jamil and I did? We called agents for like an hour and a half in Jamil's home office, and we just tag team random called, and so fun, because Jamil is just such a fun guy, so funny, and I just enjoy so much hanging around him. And both Jamil and I were commenting afterwards that oftentimes in this business, wholesaling is a lonely road. I mean, entrepreneurship is a lonely road, and meaning that oftentimes you're on your own. You don't have a ton of support. There's not a lot of recognition. Sometimes it can be a grind sometimes. And when you get together with a community, or you get together with a network or like-minded people, and you do the work together, then it's so much better. And I have my 18-year-old son. He's at school full time right now, but he works the business. And when he does, I encourage him to get in a group of like 4 or 5 other kids his age and call together. And when they do that, they try to do that consistently. They really enjoy it. They feed off the energy. They encourage each other. They give feedback to each other. So anyway, and I learned so much from Jamil. Every time I get to spend time with Jamil, I learn a ton from him. We're actually, some of you guys are coming, but we're putting together a boot camp type retreat at my hotel in Puerto Rico in November. You guys that have not signed up for that, you definitely should. There's a few spots still open. It's small group and it's all the agent model, which both Jamil and I are masters at and do at a very high level. So we're going to show you all of it, and we're going to actually get on the phones together. So it's going to be really cool. You can go to jerryandjamil.com if you want to check that out. But guys, let's turn some time over to you and let's get to some good stuff. Let's see if we can find some nuggets in here. Let's see here. And I'm just going to, if I miss over you, I'm sorry. I'll try to come back or maybe put your question in again. Direct OR 97 says, what's up, Jerry? Talk to us about buying and selling land. I've been doing some content around this a little bit. I've been talking about land for a long time, years. I actually have a program where we buy, there it is. I actually have a program where we will buy buildable lots. They have to fit a very specific criteria for me. I like new construction and I like speccing. So let's start from, I always like to get, the way I like to teach is I like to go big picture and make sure you have the principle and the full understanding from 30,000 feet looking down and then down into the weeds. Otherwise, sometimes things get lost through the forest, right? So when you think about land, some of the benefits are there's no house. And that's a huge benefit because there's no analysis. There's no comping on like houses. There's no repairs. That's a big one. Like you eliminate repairs. And really then it comes down to, okay, well, who's the end buyer? Who's interested in land? We know there's a buyer. So if there's a buyer for something, then there's an opportunity for us to wholesale, right? And that's anything. That could be watches, iPhones, cars, whatever. If there's a buyer, there's an opportunity for someone to buy that inventory below value and bring it to the end buyer. So with land, there are really three different types of buyers that you can think about or consider. One would be developers. So this would be a tract of land. This would be, 50 acres from Farmer Joe. And who's going to want that? Well, Pulte Homes or National Home Builder or whatever. And they're going to subdivide it. They're going to do all of the entitlements and they're going to bring a subdivision. Okay. So there's tracts of land that a developer might be interested in. I have a deal like that right now. We have 250 some acres under contract in the Smoky Mountains, Tennessee, and we're trying to move that to a developer. So that's one way. So that's one thing to think about. The second one is what I call mini ranches. I'm not really sure what to call these, but it's recreational. So this is like out in the sticks. Maybe there's no water. Maybe there's no sewer. Maybe there's no power. And you can get it for really cheap. And why do people buy it? Because they want a four-wheeler, they want to hunt, they want to take their RV out there. It's recreational use. So that's one type of buyer. And then there's a buyer for that, which means you can wholesale those types of deals. There's the third one. There's four, actually. The third one is what I call land bankers, meaning they like the land bank, or in other words, take their cash from somewhere like the stock market and they want to just park it in land, not to do anything, just sit on it. And that type of buyer, what they like to do is they like to find land on the outskirts of an up and coming area. And their hope is that if they sit on it for 5 or 10 years, Walmart will come buy it for millions of dollars because Walmart's building or something like that, right? So it's not quite in the desirable part of town. It's on the outskirts of town. And that's what we call land banking people, investors. And then we have the most immediate use end buyer, and that would be a spec flipper. Or new construction spec investor. And when you think about new construction, there are two types of builders. There are custom builders, which means a client hires them, they put a deposit down, and the builder builds the home to the buyer. The other type is where there is no buyer, just like we do with flipping. They buy the land, they get an architect, they create some plans, they get a designer, they hire a builder, or they build the house, put it up for sale, fully furnished, turnkey, and they're looking for that ready to go, move-in buyer that wants new construction. And that's what I do. That's what actually one of my flipping strategies is new construction spec flipping. I have a house right here down the street from me in Puerto Rico that's like 11,000 square foot, and we're going to try to sell it for 7 or 8 million. That's spec flipping. I have no buyer in mind when we started the project. So those are great because what we look for is we look for infill lots. And this is in a super booming area like Scottsdale. A lot of my deals I do in Scottsdale, we buy some old home in the 80s, tear it down, build a giant $5 million home, that type of thing. And that happens in all your up and coming markets. And so what you do is you go in there and you reverse engineer. Okay, who are the spec flippers? Let me find out who they are. There's a handful of them in every market that's doing this. What do they buy? What do they pay for? So now we're back to wholesaling 101. And then how do I go find inventory that I can bring to them? And so that's a great deal. So for example, I have a land deal right now. We should close. It got pushed back a few times, but it's in Fort Lauderdale. And we should close on the 17th, I think. So in a week or so. And I got this lot under contract. It's a tear down. And how did I find my buyer? Well, 2 doors down, literally 2 doors down, active right now for sale is a side-by-side duplex. They're selling it for, I think they're selling them for 1.7 million. And I called up the agent and I said, hey, I got a lot 2 doors down. And they're like, yeah, we know that lot. I know that property. And I said, yeah, are you interested in it? They said, yes. I said, what's your number? They gave me their number. I was on the fence with the seller because I wasn't quite sure where I needed to be. So I got my buyer committed at 370, went back to the seller, locked it up, reversed it, locked it up at 350. So I have a 20K wholesale there. And what are they going to do? They're going to tear the house down, build a new house and sell it. And I'm just wholesaling that deal to that investor. Okay. So that's land in a nutshell. I just gave like the entire overhaul on land in like 10 minutes. So, but what's cool about land, again, is there's not a lot of people that go after it. It's not nearly as competitive as houses. There seems to be ready buyers for it. If you understand the end buyer and you know your market, you know what they'll pay, you know who to go to, and you can get these great deals and move them pretty quickly. Okay, and you can find this inventory really, really well on PropWire, which is free. So you can go on there and search for vacant land and find deals that way, right there for free. So really cool. Okay, questions about that? Anybody have questions about land before we move on? And I wasn't paying attention to the comments. Let me just see if anybody's commented anything about that. Just who do we go after those land details to dispo them? Well, so if you're dispoing to a big builder, they're going to have an acquisition department. So you'll probably get a hold of their office or whatever. And then you'll find out, okay, who's your acquisition specialist in your company? And they'll put you in touch with them, and then they'll buy, or they'll be the ones you talk to about buying. I think that might, let me know if that's your question, Dennis. Okay. I'm just going to check real quick, guys, before we move on, if there's any other land questions on that. All right, I might see something come up, but Chris Ritter said, I found 3,000 lands in my market. Land deals maybe for sale. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. Okay, how do you find buyers for land? Great question. So what I like to do is if I go into software, so I use PropWire, it's free. You go into PropWire, there's a question. Great question, Joanne. What I do is I look for land and I go to the more filters. And then what I want to do is I want to say, okay, they purchased land in the past couple of years. That way, you know, they're actively buying land. They've owned it for at least X number of years. And then I like to put that they own 5 or more land properties. That's telling me that it's not a one-off thing where somebody bought it and they're non-owner occupants. So it can't be someone that's building for themselves, and cash. In case you're going to go in there, you're going to put those filters in there. It's going to give you a list. Then you're going to see, okay, what'd they buy? Where'd they buy? How many properties do they own? By the way, guys, I've done tutorials on this on my YouTube channel. You can go back and watch if you're really serious about this. I break it down, show you the filters and everything and how to do it. But you're going to go in there and you're going to find, okay, who's actively doing land. And then that's who your buyers are. Then you call them up and say, hey, looks like you bought land on 123 Main Street. I got a deal that's very similar to that, a couple streets down or whatever. Are you interested? And so that's how you find them. That's been my best way to do it. Okay, so Tammy asks, is it worth buying land under terms? Yes. Almost all of my land deals are creative finance because landowners are way more open to creative terms than houses. And the reason why, think about it, it's a piece of dirt with no inherent use right now. And they probably owned it for a long time. And so there's no immediate use of it. You have to do some sort of value add to it, which means they're way more creative on the terms. So what I typically do is I do a two-step approach. I do this with houses too, by the way. I go in and I say, okay, if I'm going to pay cash, I need to get this at a rock bottom number. It needs to be 50,000. However, and then they come back and they say, no, that's too low. And I say, I might be able to pay more if you are willing to wait to get some or all of your money. That's my phrase I use. I always say I might be able to pay a lot more if the seller, if you're talking to the seller, if you seller would be willing to wait to get some or all of your money. And they're going to go, well, what the heck does that mean? And you're going to say, well, I might be able to give you a little bit of cash in your pocket, and then you set up interest rate and terms, and I make you a payment, and the balance is due in the future. Right? That's a broad definition of creative finance, seller finance. And then I see where they go. And typically they'll say, okay, well, how much down and what interest rate and all of that. And then we start the negotiation process. And if I was willing to pay, 50,000 cash, I might pay 75,000 on terms. But then what I'll do is I'll put very little down. I'll try with nothing. I'll try to put very little down, agree on a payment plan. And then what I'll do is once I buy it on terms, I'll turn around and sell it on terms. And I'll collect more down from my buyer than I paid to my seller, right? Think about a wrap. And I'll make a higher payment than what I'm paying. So now I'm making the difference. I get my money back plus some. And the difference between my payment to the seller and my payment I collect from the buyer is my cash flow spread. And I'll do this like crazy, especially on cheap land. Like I'll buy land sometimes for 10 grand. I'll give you $500 down and I'll make you $100 a month payment. And then I'll turn around and I'll collect 5,000 down. I'll turn around and sell that for twice as much, collect way more down, make a higher payment. And all I'm doing is resetting new terms with my buyer. I bought on creative and sold on creative and making cash flow in between. That makes sense. It's really fun to do. It's really cool. Okay. So, okay. Can you link your YouTube channel for us? Yeah, guys, if you're not on my YouTube channel, what are you doing, man? Flippingmastery.com or Flipping Mastery TV is the YouTube channel. And I do playlists on all my content. So if you go into the playlist section on my channel and you go to vacant lots or land, then you'll see all my videos. And I've got a couple of PropWire videos where I show how to do land on PropWire and how to do land deals on Zillow and Redfin as well. Just how to do it for free, different ways, and how to find the buyer, how to understand the market, all of that. Okay. All right, let's move along here. Oh, Joanne asked one more question. Where is a good market for land? Great question. So again, I go where the buyers are. So what I'm going to do, here's how you find out if there's infill lots and spec flipping happening in your market. If you go on, let's just say Zillow, and what you're going to do is you're going to go to the filters. You're going to say, show me all the sold homes in the past 12 months. So sold 12 months in time, and then go to year built, and then go back 2 years from the current date. So we're 2024. I would go back to October of 2022. And that's the minimum year built. That means somebody built a home and sold it in the past 2 years, which means it's a flipper. It's an investor. And then I'm going to look at the map and it's going to give me all the dots. And I'm going to see, okay, where's all the action? What areas of my county or zip code or whatever, my metro market, where are all the spec flips happening? And are there any, and where are they at is what I'm looking for. And if I can see a significant amount of transactions, then I know, okay, flippers are active. They're buying lots, building homes and selling them. Now I hone in and I say, okay, who in the area I want to start looking for deals? Who are they? What are they selling them for? I reverse engineer. What they buy the lot for? I do my research, right? What they pay for the lot? Now I know, okay, if I can go find a like lot, like similar to that one in the same neighborhood, I know what they paid, I know who they are, and now I'm going to bring those deals to them. So it's all, land flipping is all reverse engineered, right? Figure out who the buyers are, where they're buying, where they're doing deals, then reverse it all the way down to what are they paying. Now go find deals that match that. Okay. Zach said, what happened to the 0 to 60 challenge with your boys? That was really, really fun. I loved doing that. We stopped because we were doing it all live and we had people trying to poach our deals that we were showing live because we were doing live calls and everything. And we were pulling up properties. We were showing where they're at, what the numbers are. And then we would be calling and like making offers. And then we were getting backdoored by people watching the show. So, and I said, guys, I will do this as long as nobody starts doing that. And people started doing it because what was happening is the agents would be like, yeah, it's really weird. After we talked to you, I got like 10 calls and I got like a whole bunch of people calling me wanting to make offers, like literally after we talked because we were doing it live. Right. So it's super unfortunate. I'm going to try to find a different way to do it. The value in it and the power in it is seeing it real time happen as we go. Hey, sir.
What up, brother?
How are you, man?
I was listening to the show on the drive here, so thank you so much for
Dude, it's so boring doing this by yourself. I'm so happy you're here.
No, it's not. Come on. Thank you, bro. That was it was good information about the land stuff. I think so many people are looking at land right now because of so much building going on, and I think what's going to happen is more and more people are going to build because the government is going to start incentivizing builders to build more stuff to catch up with all the demand. It is interesting though. Like the biggest thing I noticed this week, I don't know if you've been noticing this, but in Arizona, we went from 14,000 active listings to now 24,000 active listings in less than 30 days.
Why is that?
Rates. I think a lot of people are like, hey, maybe I can offload and get out of my house. And somebody's willing to pay. And so there's a rush for people to try and sell their houses. Also, I was looking at the data today and it looks like it's a lot of real estate investors that are trying to get out of the houses that they're in that are no longer cash flowing. And they're like, maybe, and I actually am one of those. I've got 4 houses selling this month. We closed on one on Friday. That was a house that we were making good money on in Atlanta, but then Atlanta outlawed Airbnb. What ended up happening is I go, all right, well, I'll go to midterm rental. And I put that property on midterm rental for about a year. And it did okay, but it just wasn't anything amazing. So I just said, I'll wait for rates to come down and then I'll sell it on the market. Because obviously my buyer's going to give me a higher number if the rate is down, right?
Yeah.
And so we're seeing a big surge in inventory all over the country. I spent 3 hours today just kind of going through the data, and inventory is climbing quite a bit.
Have you, I know you've been talking about this, so I've been wanting to talk to you about this. Have you heard about what happened in Hawaii with Airbnb?
No, I haven't. What's up?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So Hawaii, the locals did this uprising and basically blamed the white man and the developer coming to the island for the fires, all the fires they have. It's because of all of the development that's happened. That's why there's fires. Well, this big movement caught traction. So government came in and literally banned overnight rental in like entire sections of the Big Island. And I'm really good friends with an investor who had a lot who was going to spec. And you have to understand the Hawaii market. The value in the market is the luxury buyer there. They buy in Hawaii so that they can vacation a couple times a year and then Airbnb it the rest of the year. They're not there. That's the market. Like if you take that market away, then you completely annihilate that market. And that's what happened. So they passed this law, no overnight rental, and literally values went like cut in half overnight. Yeah. Because there's no value if you can't rent that property out to vacationers. And so,
Yeah.
So this is really interesting because you've been talking about this for a while. And like, if you're thinking about an Airbnb, and let's say that it's allowed right now, like with a stroke of a pen, they could take that away. And if that value in that house is only value is Airbnb income, like luxury, if you think about most luxury, like Sleep's 30 and people for skiing come or whatever, and that's the model, and they take that away, you're toast with that asset.
Yeah, I think the Airbnb people don't love me right now because I've been talking about this for about a year. I'm just saying that Airbnb is a model that we don't need more Airbnbs in this marketplace, guys. Like there's no shortage of Airbnbs. And so what's happening right now is I'm experiencing on my existing Airbnbs a demand to update and upgrade all of my experiences to go from a good location to a good location and an amazing experience inside of the home. And so I looked at all my Airbnbs and I go, man, Airbnb outlawed my Atlanta properties. I had 75 rentals in Airbnb, 75 rentals in Atlanta, and 17 of them were Airbnbs. I have now exited primarily. I've tried to exit the Airbnb market entirely. Why? Because Atlanta was where my stronghold was. Vegas was my second market. That's now outlawed. Now they're saying Arizona is going to start outlawing certain areas.
They already are. Yeah. They've been really increasing the regulation on it, and it's coming. That's the thing, is it's on the chop block. It's on the chop. And most municipalities or most neighborhoods, HOAs, they hate it. They don't want people coming there and being loud and swimming in the pool or whatever, like they hate it.
Yeah. And they bring all sorts of cars into the neighborhood, a lot of traffic, all that stuff. So my point is, where is it coming from? It is coming from the people, obviously in HOAs, that are complaining to the HOAs, but it's also coming from the Marriott group. If you look at the Marriott group, they are spending billions of dollars in lobbying dollars to get rid of the Airbnb world. And so what's happening is, also look at your hotel stays over the last 10 years, guys. Your hotel stays have gotten so much better. Because what the Airbnb market did 20 years ago is it forced everybody that was a hotel operator to go, oh my gosh, it's not okay for me just to have a freaking continental breakfast and a hotel room with 4 walls. I have to provide an experience. I have to provide these things. And so these hotels have really reacted to the Airbnb world, and they're reacting 2 different ways. They've upgraded the experience, 1, and then 2, they're spending lobbying dollars to get rid of the Airbnbs around them. They have way more money. Right.
That's Hawaii. Hawaii was a lot of hotel lobbying too, was part of that whole thing. Yeah.
And also, it's kind of like if you look at the wholesale world, right? Like wholesalers are all these fragmented individual owners that don't really band together. And there's no cohort. There's no collective group. It's just a bunch of whatever.
I call it cowboys. Bunch of cowboys.
A bunch of cowboys. Same thing with Airbnb operators. How are the Airbnb operators going to get together, communicate, et cetera, when Marriott Group is spending $800 million this year in lobbying against Airbnb? There's no united front. There's no one person fighting it. And so it is interesting to watch how Airbnb is deteriorating and cash flows are falling and people are offloading their properties. I just saw Tiffany High, real estate investor, the other day talk about how she's offloading all of her rentals because they don't cash flow anymore. And when I was reaching out to her, it was a lot to do with Airbnb. Like, oh, I thought it was going to cash flow. It had this significant thing and now whatever. So guys, be careful with Airbnb. It's why I don't focus on Airbnb. I've got a handful left. We have 6 in the portfolio. I used to have 75. I have 6. So what does that tell you? I've converted a lot of homes over to co-living. And what I'm seeing on the co-living side is I'm actually seeing the opposite. I'm seeing like Sacramento just came out with an incentive for investors to go out and do more co-living, right? All of California now has a law passed for ADUs. Like people want higher density and they want longer term rents. And what's cool about the average co-living tenant is they're staying in these properties for 9 months. And so you're going to see so much more movement away from Airbnb over the next couple of years, unless you are in niche markets like the Smoky Mountains. And I was going to say Hawaii until you just brought this up. I was going to say like Hawaii was a market that seemed like that's a vacation spot. And guess what? Not anymore. Crazy.
Yeah. Just like that. That's really, really, really wild.
Crazy.
Hey, Pace, special K, closed my first wholesale deal this past weekend for a $20K assignment fee. Let's go.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Where's
Tell us, leave a comment, special K, and tell us, highlight of the deal, like what what was your acquisition? What was your dispo? And congratulations. Good for you, man. That's inspiring.
Valeria Medina says, I don't know, bro. I'm stressed, but I think it's possible. I can be a millionaire no matter what anyone says. It's just hard to find people that have the same vision as me. I need a mentor. So Valeria, you are in a live right now where there are 400 people between my YouTube channel and Jerry Norton's YouTube channel. You have plenty of people that all have the same mindset. They want to be millionaires. They want to work on themselves. They want to do the thing. I don't know many YouTubers in the real estate world that are actually doing the business. I've been to Jerry Norton's multi-million-dollar projects. I've been to Jerry Norton's small flips. I've been to Jerry Norton's wholesale deals. Same thing with Jerry and same thing with Jamil. You are definitely in the right place, my friend. I would make sure you would subscribe to all 4 of our channels and pay attention, and you will make more money. I promise you that. Okay. Congratulations. Sonia Wood says, way to go on your first deal.
That's cool.
Right.
The first deal is the best deal. Like, I don't know about you, Pace, but my first deal was $6,000. It might as well have been $1 million. And I've been chasing that high ever since 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Like it's a magical moment.
I still tell the story of my first deal when I'm on stage every single time. It's what changed my whole entire mindset. I can tell you, if you don't mind, can I tell you my first deal for a second?
Yeah.
So
my first deal.
Oh,
it's not the bunnies.
It is the bunnies.
Oh, heck yeah. Dude, that's like a legendary. I didn't know that was your first deal.
Yeah. The bunny story is my first deal. So what was interesting about the bunny story is not the bunnies thing, but I want to tell you a different part of the story to kind of tell you. And I'm curious, like where you were mindset wise when you got your first deal. So,
when you're done, I might tell my third deal is the coolest story ever. It wasn't my first, but my third. It's the coolest story ever.
I'd love to hear that. My first deal was January 2013. I started spending money in December of 2012. Okay. So this is roughly coming on 12 years ago. I started marketing. So what happened is I was a contractor, nothing but a contractor at the time. I didn't know how to fill out a contract, how to comp a property. And this lady that I was doing construction for, she stops me. Her name's Bethany Willis. She was on stage this year at Squat Up Summit. Nobody's ever met her. I unveiled her at Squat Up Summit and put her on stage. And she was just like, she's like, honestly, I didn't think you were going to make it in the business. So this lady, she teaches me how to send out postcards, right? Which I wouldn't do now because it's so expensive, but I get leads. They start coming in on a second phone. So what she told me, she goes, go get 2 phones, have your primary phone for your construction business and have a money phone for all your leads. So you know when somebody calls you, you don't miss that call. Cool. So the first day leads start coming in are about 2 weeks after I spent money on the postcards. I didn't know where to send the postcards. The company I hired told me where to send the postcards and holy crap, it worked. So I just want to let you guys know it is way more simple than you think it is to get leads. And so I missed my first 2 phone calls that come into the phone. Why? Because I was a contractor and I was installing somebody's freaking toilet in their house. And I was doing like little blue tape cleanup items on this flip. And I felt the vibration of that phone. I knew that phone was ringing and I knew it was a lead, but I was so fearful of picking up my first call that I just let it ring. And I justified not picking up the call because I was installing somebody's pooper, right? And that kind of tells you where my mindset was. And so what happens is I get home, Laura and I are talking. She's like, how was your day? Hey, did you get any leads? She asked me. It's like 8 o'clock at night. She goes, have you gotten any leads on that phone yet? And I go, yeah, I got 2 leads today. And she's like, amazing. What did they say? And I go, oh, I didn't know. I don't know. I didn't pick up the phone. And she's like, what do you mean you didn't pick up the phone? And I go, well, don't worry. I'll call them tomorrow. Like it's too late to call them now. And my wife says, dude, are you kidding me? Like you won't wait 5 minutes for a restaurant to sit us down before going to the next restaurant. And you think somebody's going to like wait for you to call them back tomorrow? You better freaking call these people right now. Right. And so I go, dang it, you're so right. So I go to pick up the phone and like dial the 2 calls that I missed that day. And as I was picking up the phone, another lead calls literally right there. A 3rd call comes in. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And my wife's there, so I couldn't come up with any excuse. So I pick up the phone, and this lady's name is Janie Munson. Janie Munson says, yeah, I want to sell my house. I go, okay, great. What I asked this lady, what's our next step is what I asked her. I had no idea what to do. So I set the appointment to go to her house. And luckily, the lady who taught me how to generate leads, I called her on my way to the appointment. And I said, hey, Bethany, what should I pay for this house? Because I didn't know how to comp. I didn't even know that I needed a contract, let alone what a contract was and what it looked like. I had no clue. And so I want to point this out to you guys is that everything you want to learn is on the other side of action. It's on the other side of action. It's not, let me learn everything and then I'll take action. It is literally everything you want to learn is on the other side of taking action. And so I'm out here taking imperfect action, generating leads, going on appointments, not knowing how to comp. I didn't even know the word comp meant 11 years ago. And so I called Bethany. I go, hey, I'm on my way to this appointment. What should I pay? She goes, well, she's looking it up. I can hear her clicking her fingernails. She was over on PropWire looking at like comps. And she says, hey, don't offer this lady any more than $150,000 and you'll be able to make money. I go, okay, got it. So I go to the house. I talk to Janie, the seller. I find out she's a retiring school teacher. She's, wanting to move up to Oregon, but she needs to sell the house in order to do this. And the house is, 40 years, not renovated, disheveled, disorganized, this, that, and the other, hot water heater going bad, all the things, And we go into the kitchen and I look down on the kitchen countertop and I look at all these postcards and these letters that she's had stacked up from other real estate investors trying to buy her house. And I asked her one of the most important questions. I still ask it every single time I talk to a seller or an agent. I said, what's kept you from selling the house? And she says, well, I've got an offer at 165 and I need more money because this is my retirement. I need more money. And I said, oh, 165, huh? Well, that's going to be a problem. I'm not going to be able to help you. And she's like, wait, you're trying to anchor me. I didn't even know what anchor meant. I had no idea. A freaking elementary school teacher knew what anchoring meant. And I didn't know what anchoring meant. So she goes, oh, you really don't know. I go, no, I don't know. She's like, so you can't help me? I go, no, I'm not. She goes, can you give me an offer anyway? And I go, no, I would offend you. I don't want to offend you with this offer. She then looks at me. She's like, so what do we do? Like, do you just leave? I go, I guess. So on my way out the door, I turned around and I was like, oh man, I'm like a house guest. I didn't show up with a gift. So I go, you know what, Janie, is there anything I can do to help you out? I've got guys, I've got crews, I've got this, that, and the other. I could help you load your moving van, whatever it is you need. What do you need help with? Do you need repairs around the house? I could help you out with a bunch of stuff. And, Jerry, you got an Eagle Scout, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So Janie goes, what are you, a Boy Scout? I go, yeah, actually, my mom and dad wouldn't let me drive a car, date a girl, do anything until I got my Eagle Scout. So yes, I am an Eagle Scout. She goes, oh, I was joking, but okay. And she goes, all right, I trust you. Like, you're not as weird as I thought you were 15 minutes ago. And she goes and she shows me her biggest problem, which was take me to the backyard, opening up her sliding glass door, walking on her back patio and going, here's my problem. And it was 3 massive bunnies that are literally the size of like a 4-year-old, 5-year-old child. Humongous. They're called Flemish bunnies. And within 45 minutes, I had solved your problem. I called my mom. My mom comes and gets the bunnies. That's not the important part of the story. That is an important part of the story. But what happened was this. We help the lady. We take the bunnies. My mom puts them in somebody else's farm in her church. And 2 weeks later, I get a call from Janie Munson, 2 weeks later. And she calls me up. She goes, "Hey, this is Janie. Do you remember me?" I go, "Yeah, I remember you. Who'd you sell your house to? Did everything work out okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, I think everything's going to work out fine. I just wanted to call you and let you know that like I am a school teacher. I gave myself homework and I decided that today's the day that I have to make the decision of who I'm selling the house to. And I made the decision today. I completed my homework and I decided I'm selling my house to you." And I'm like,
and you hadn't given a price yet.
Had not given her a price. Had not given her a price. And she says to me, I go, "Whoa, you don't know my price." She says, "Pace, 15 people before you and 15 people after you came to my house and not one person asked me how they could help me. Not one person cared about where I was moving. You were stressed out about where I was going to go and where I was going to live. Like you genuinely cared about my well-being. And not only that, but you didn't give me an offer and you still helped me with my bunnies. Like you solved my bunny problem." And now people ask me like, why is your logo a peace sign? They think it's subto, and that is definitely the double meaning. But the reason our logo for our community is because it's bunny ears. It's the bunny ears. It's to remind you that you are to look for people's bunnies and find their emotional hangups and their problems that you can help them. Okay, great. Perfect. So I go up, I end up buying the house. I could not, for the life of me, figure out where I was going to get the money and how I was going to do the contract. So I called Bethany and I go, "Bethany, I don't know. This lady says she'll sell to me for the 150. This is crazy. Can you help me?" She goes, "Of course I'll help you." So I pick her up. We go up to the house. Bethany gets a copy of a contract. We walk through the contract. She helps me fill the whole thing out. Again, everything I've learned is on the other side of action. Bethany was my mentor, and Bethany told me what to do. I did it, and I learned everything after I did what she told me what to do. Not, but this and but that and it was literally, you told me to do it. I'm doing it, and I will learn everything after I do the thing you told me to do, not before. And this was one of the most interesting parts of my mindset where I was. And this is where I'm going to ask you a question of where you were on your first deal and your third deal. So we get the contract. Janie's crying. You've helped me. You saved me, this, that, and the other. And I go, "Janie, why didn't you just sell to somebody at a higher price point?" She says, "Well, because I felt like I couldn't trust the numbers they gave me. I felt like they would give me a number and then they would come and pull the rug out from underneath me once they got me in contract. And I can't jeopardize my security and my retirement savings. So I decided to go with you, the person I could trust. And I knew your number would not be inappropriate. 150 is a good number. It's not a great number. It's a good number. But I know that you probably are higher than the other people at the end of the day because you're going to give me 150. I was like, "Wow, that's amazing. You know, it's cool that," and she's like, "I wouldn't have done it if you didn't show me how I could trust you," which was great. Okay, great. So I go in the car and I'm looking at Bethany and I go, "Bethany, how the heck am I going to buy this house? I don't have $150,000. And Bethany says, "Dude, are you dumb?" I'm like, "Maybe." She says, "I'm buying the house from you and I'm buying it for $175. And I'm like, "Wait, what? Oh my gosh. So I gotta find 150 and then you'll buy it for me at 175. So like, where do I find the 150? And she's like, "It's called an assignment, dude. Like this contract is in your name. You are going to assign this contract to me and I will pay you 25 grand. I had no idea what title was. I had no idea what anything was. Nothing.
But you didn't need to, because you figured that out as you went along. That's so funny.
Now, hold on. This is the punchline right here. So I'm like, I want to know, what do you think I was the most excited about in this moment?
in the moment where you learned that you were going to make
25 grand. I learned what an assignment was. She told me I don't need to bring up any money. What was I so excited about?
Well, when I did mine, for me, I had this thought that if this worked, I did these things and this worked. What would my life be like if I could do it again? And what if I could do it a couple times a month? What if I could do it 5 or 6 times a month? What if I could just do this often? I could go from making $25,000 a year to maybe $25,000 a month. You know, like
I wish I was that smart. I was not that smart. Here's what I was excited about. Okay. Here's what I was excited about. I was excited that Bethany, who is my construction client, she would hire me to flip her houses. I was excited that I was going to have another house of Bethany's to do the renovation for and make money on the renovation. I wasn't even aware. It didn't even dawn on me that I just figured out a way to make money for the rest of my life. And so Bethany, like a good mentor, this is what she does. She says, you are hereby fired as my contractor. You need to get your butt out there and find me more deals. And that changed my life. I made 25 grand on that first deal. I got 2 more deals for her that month, one 15 and another one that was 10. I made 50 G's take home my first year in the business because I had one buyer and I took action and I just found deals for that one buyer.
Yeah, clearly it sank in.
It took me forever I was excited to renovate her house. That's how bad my mindset was, is that I still did not comprehend how powerful this business was. And I did 100 deals my first year, like 90 something of them were with Jamil. I met Jamil very quickly and he sold most of my deals. I made an average of $15,000 on every deal. Jamil made $5,000, $10,000 on top of me. And I got into the business and it changed my life for forever. But it was more the mindset of like, oh my gosh, I can go create value and make chunks of money without owning a property. That's crazy. So where were you on your mindset when you were going?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because on my first deal, you know, it was a driving for dollars deal. And when I met the cash buyer at the property, this is 20 years ago. I printed out this assignment, 1-page assignment contract, right? Because I don't know. I'm like you. I'm just doing the thing until I get stuck, and then I figure out how to solve the next thing. And I didn't realize that I had no idea how to do the assignment. So I have it there in front of him. We agree on a number, and I'm trying to fill it out, and I don't know how to fill it out because I didn't know if I was the assignor or the assignee. So I didn't know where to put my name and where to sign. And after a minute, the buyer, he's figuring out that I didn't know how to fill it out. So he's kind of leaning over, he's waiting, he's looking at me, I'm looking at him, and I'm like, do I tell him I don't know how to fill this out? I mean, I'm going to look like such a moron. And then, so finally he figures it out and he's like, you're this person and I'm this person. And he like walked me through how to fill it out. He was the coolest guy. He was Cambodian. We ended up doing a lot of deals together, but like, that was exactly what you just described. Like, most people are like, well, I'm not going to start calling anybody until I know how to fill out the assignment. No, that you don't need to know the assignment until you get to that point. Like, just do the thing you need to do first and then worry about the next thing. Yeah. So true.
It is interesting how I now watch people, typically they're engineers, and they will want to know every little thing about every little thing before they take any action.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, y'all engineers went to 6 years to be mechanical engineers. You were willing to invest 6 years of college, 6 years of tuition, 6 years of sacrifice and not making money to learn a job you weren't even sure if you were going to like. And you aren't willing to go take action on something like this that could change your life for forever. Every engineer I know, every doctor I know, everybody I know that's high level, they all tell me, man, I wish I just got into real estate investing instead of being a dentist, instead of being an airline pilot or this or that or whatever. But people are willing to put in so much time and energy into these 9 to 5 structures. Me too. I was willing to put 10 years into building a construction company that I was a slave to. But I lied to myself. So I told myself at 23, that I was going to get into real estate. I knew I needed to get into real estate. I heard there was an audio tape I listened to at the time of Tony Robbins. And now it's weird that like now I text Tony Robbins weekly, and sometimes like I'm going to his house in 3 weeks. Like it's weird that that's my life now. But he says buy land. They're not making more of it, and get into real estate. It's the only sure thing in the world is real estate, right? And I was like, okay, I got to get into real estate. So from 23 to 30, I was lying to myself, not taking action. And finally, it wasn't how to get into real estate that solved my problem. It was a who. It was a human being that came to me and was like, stop asking so many stupid questions. She called me an asshole. It's the first time I ever heard the word asshole. And I was like, what do you mean asshole? She's like, you're just like an asshole. You just keep asking questions. Therefore, you're an asshole. And I was like, oh my gosh. She's like, shut your mouth and do your job is what she told me. And I've never forgotten that phrase. It's not eloquent. It's definitely not elegant. It was just very simple. Shut your mouth, do your job. And your job is to listen to what I'm telling you to do. And it was the greatest thing was just getting somebody to invest in me and care about me and recognize my overthinking was my biggest problem. And, that still, it's interesting. People are like, okay, check this out. I'm ready to take action. How much do I need to get started? Right. And if I go to my Pace's YouTube channel and I type in Pace Morby, how to get started, Jerry and Norton, how to get started, we have videos on exactly how to do this business with no money. And Jerry's first deal, you didn't spend any money. You were driving for deals for your first deal. Did you spend money on your first deal?
No, I didn't spend any money on marketing for probably years before I started spending money on marketing. In fact, I wanted to tell you my third deal. The story of that deal is really cool because I was driving for dollars. It was in inner city Detroit neighborhoods, really low income. It was just that was close by and available to me, so that's where I started. And I drive by. Hey, Corbin.
Hi.
Say hi, Jerry.
Hi.
I see that you're in Puerto Rico.
Yep, I'm back in Puerto Rico. Guess what I did as soon as I got home, like within 5 minutes of getting home?
You jumped.
Catch iguanas.
Yeah, I went iguana hunting. How'd you know?
It's because there's iguanas there.
Are you going to see
I miss
Jerry
you.
from Boston in a couple weeks? Okay, let me do my podcast and I'll come out and talk to you in a minute. Okay, love you.
Mommy's making
Say bye to Jerry.
Mommy's making salmon. Bye, Jerry.
Will you close my door for me and take Chippy too?
I'll take
Okay, so your third deal. Tell me about the third deal.
So I'm driving for dollars, right? And I see this little house. It's got a real estate sign. So it was listed. I didn't know it was listed. It was listed, but I could see on the front door, it said condemned, like this big stamped notice on the front door, condemned. So I get out, I go, and I look in the windows like this, and it's like gutted, and the thing's like falling down, right? So I call on the sign. I don't even know what I'm doing, right? This is my third deal. I have no idea what I'm doing. And it was listed for, I don't know, like $15,000 or something like that. So I tell him, I think I told him $4,000 or $5,000, like that's my offer. And he says, hold on. He puts me on hold. I don't know who he talked to. A minute later, he comes back on. He says, we can get it done for that. Let's get it done. And he says, I'll fax you. This is back when I'll fax you an offer to sign, late. So look for that later. I'm like, okay, here's my fax number. And so I start to drive away. Now I have no idea if I got a deal. Like I just said $4,000 or $5,000, and I'm driving away. I go down to the end of the street. I turn left. I'm going down that street. I look to my left and I see this house where they're putting a roof on. And there's like five guys up on the roof. So I just think to myself, that could be an investor. Maybe they'd be interested. So I pull over and I say, hey, who's the owner of this property? I'd like to talk to him. And there's this guy up there. He climbs down the ladder. He walks up to me, big, tall, black guys, Leroy. And he says, well, I'm the owner. This is one of my rental properties. And what do you want? He said, this is my crew. We're doing the roof. And I said, well, right around the corner, I got a house I'm selling. Maybe you're interested. And he's kind of looking me, he's kind of looking me up and down. And he said, let's go look at it. I say, okay. And he's like, I'll jump in your car. It's like, okay, I got this like beat up pickup truck, right? So he jumps in the passenger side. We drive back around the corner. He gets out. He does the same thing I did. He walks up, puts his face in the window, says like, what do you want for it? And I said like 8,000 or 9,000, like $4,000 more than what I had it verbally, like literally 5 minutes earlier under contract for. And he says, okay, done. I'll do it. And I had to follow up with the paperwork, but I found and sold the deal literally in like 15 minutes and made like $4,000 or $5,000. Like that was my third deal.
That's insane.
So yeah, we overcomplicate this. Like we way overcomplicate this. It's not that complicated if you'll just get out there and take action.
Yeah, dude, I love that story. That's so good. That reminds me of a story. So some people don't know Steve Trang, some people do, but Steve Trang in 2016, I think 2017, was speaking at the Hilton Anatole in Dallas, Texas. Max Maxwell was having the biggest wholesale event wholesale had ever seen. His goal was, I'm going to get 1,000 wholesalers to show up to this event. It was 2017. So I'm going there like, this is, 7 years ago. This is before anybody knew who I was. And I go, Steve, I'm coming. I'm going to support you, man. I'll buy a $5,000 VIP ticket just to support you. And let's go. So me and Jamil and Steve go out to support Steve speaking at this event. Sure enough, 1,000 people were at this thing. I was blown away. Now what's funny is like Squat Up Summit is coming up in March at the same hotel, and we will have 3,500 people at this event.
Crazy
to think about, right? So anyway, my point of this is we get to the hotel, we're sitting there, and Steve, Jamil, and I are sitting in the VIP section way up front near the stage. We kind of have this little round table and whatnot. And I'm sitting there like, I'm not one for sitting in conferences all day long. I want to get out and network with people. So I was kind of stuck. I didn't want to get up and like walk around and make Steve look stupid. I was there to support him and whatnot. So I text, Steve's on my right, Jamil's on my left. So I text Steve and I go, hey, do you guys have any deals that I could comp while I'm sitting here with you? Like, I'd like to maybe buy a deal from you while I'm sitting here. He goes, yeah, actually, we've got like 3 deals. So he texts me the 3 addresses and he tells me the prices. And I go, perfect. Thank you. Give me like 5 minutes. I'll let you know. So I copy all of them and I text them to Jamil on my left. And Jamil ends up saying, yeah, I want that one. I'll take that one. So I go back to Steve and I go, okay, great. I'll take that one. And so I work this deal. They're sitting next to me. They don't know I'm playing middleman. And I make $18,000 sitting there between the two of them. I make 18 grand. And like 5 minutes later, Max Maxwell's on stage. And he goes, all right, if there's anybody here that's done a deal while they've been here, your team back home, or you've done a JV deal here today, run up here and ring this bell. So I run up on stage and I ring the bell. And Max is like, Pace, tell us about your deal. I was like, Steve just sold me a house on blah, 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 blah. And I just sold it to Jamil right next to me for $18,000 more. And so I make $18,000 and I'm like, this is what's beautiful about wholesale is like, you just need to be the guy in between the guys. And, it's interesting. Like, why would Steve not have just sent those to Jamil?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but yeah. I can tell you that I've done 100+ JV deals like that where somebody should have just sent it to Jamil, but I asked first and they sent it to me and I just sent it to Jamil and I ended up making 10 grand or 15 grand or whatever. And Jamil would always just sell my contracts for me. And I'm always been way more of an acquisition guy. My first thought is acquisition over disposition, which is why my collaboration with Jamil has been so significant, is because he allowed me to do 3 times more contracts than I could do on my own when I don't have a full disposition team. Jamil tripled my conversions because I had the confidence and I had the numbers going into every one of these contracts. And so a lot of people don't realize like how easy this business and simple this business is. You go to meetups with that intention of, I'm going to do a deal today And so that's my intention every time I go to
it's interesting. It's interesting you say that because, dispo is hard when you have a very skinny deal. If it's a very marginal deal, dispo's work, man. You got to work your butt off to find a buyer. Dispo is the easiest thing ever if you have a smoking hot deal. I tell people, just get a good deal, a good solid deal. Buy that thing deep, man. And you don't need to JV. Finding a buyer is the easiest thing ever if you have a deal. And so, like, I can show people in 5 minutes how to find 20 buyers that actively are buying in the same neighborhood as your deal, where you don't even have to skip trace them or anything, how to find them, how to get the agent who's selling the houses for those flippers to go show it and sell it. And you do nothing. It's that easy. Like, where everyone's like, I don't want a dispo. I don't want a dispo. I'm just going to JV my deals. It's like, well, it's because you think it's so hard to do dispo, and maybe it is, but only because you don't have a really good deal.
That's a really good point. Like, when I would JV with Jamil, here's how I learned. My first deal I ever did, I learned to buy a deal without comping it. So I got into a really good, depends on who you are, good habit or bad habit. I will just text my buyer every time. At one of my buyers, I will text them before I go lock up the contract. Hey, sight unseen, without photos, where are you buying this deal? And they go, without photos, sight unseen, I'm probably somewhere at this price. I go, perfect. So I go lock it up and I just go, I'm going to try and be 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand below this, as low as I can possibly be. But I know that's my anchor. Then when I get the deal under contract, I go back to them and I send them quality photos, information about, when I take photos, I take a photo of the serial number on the hot water heater. I take a photo of the SKU number on the air conditioning unit. I'm so thorough so they don't have to come to the house. I also set up my buyers list. So I was like, if you need to see the house in person, you are not my buyer. I gave you 200 photos and a video. I sent you a 15-minute video walkthrough. If you need to see the house, that's because you're trying to wholesale it to somebody else. If you're trying to wholesale it to somebody else, send them the photos and the videos. I'm okay with you JVing with me. But I got into this habit where I'm like, I'm never going to comp a deal. And so still to this day, my team and myself, I will text somebody and go, what are you buying this at? And I just learned to buy deals deep to make sure that everybody on the transaction makes a ton of money.
And what you were doing with Jamil was really brilliant. It's a great place to start. You scaled it, which is really cool. And we don't see that very often, which is, I'm going to tie into a buyer who's doing a lot of volume and has a massive buyers list. And not only did you take your deals to them, but you made them do all the work. You pre-sold it. You had them comp it. You had them tell you the number. So you literally could walk into an appointment like a complete idiot and just walk out of there with a number. And you know that if you got the number, you have a buyer already waiting for it. Like, that's freaking genius in the sense that you took all the work out of it and all you had to do was get on appointments, pre-sell it with Jamil and his team, right? Walk in there, walk out of there with that number, and you got a deal. So, like, that doesn't work if you don't have a buyer like the Jamil.
I also learned the business when I was a contractor. Like, I learned the wholesale game as a contractor. So there's a company called Floor and Decor that sells a lot of tile and, backsplash material and wood floors and all that kind of stuff. They're nationwide. I think they have like 100 locations or something. And I would find the SKUs that Floor and Decor had, that my customers that I was flipping houses for, they really liked these SKUs at Floor and Decor. Then I would go over to another tile company. I go, hey, can I get this tile from you at a 50-cent discount if I could give you the full order? And they'd say, yeah, that'd be great. And I would bypass Floor and Decor and I would go to like a local tile shop. I did the same thing with Home Depot. So Home Depot has really expensive carpet. Like, nobody knows how expensive their carpet is until you go to like a local carpet shop. So there's a local carpet shop here called Gonzalez Carpet. I go into their shop and I go, dude, I get so many people I'm flipping their houses. They want me to just buy the cheap stuff at Home Depot. Can you guys beat Home Depot's price and match they're like, oh yeah, we know exactly. They have a Shaw thing, blah, blah, blah. We can sell it to you for $2 a yard less. I'm like, $2 a yard? Sometimes I'm doing 300 yards in somebody's house. That's $600. So like, not only would I make money on the labor, but I made money on just arbitraging the carpet and arbitraging the tile and arbitraging the shower door and arbitraging the toilet. And the homeowner would never come to me and go, that this price is out of order, because I was giving them Home Depot pricing, but I was getting it somewhere else. And did I not deserve to get paid that money? Yes, of course I did. I went out and I found that relationship. So when I found out about wholesale, I was like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. Like, this is something I do already. It was easy for me.
Yeah. And you can do it. You can do it without a pre-established relationship. I've got a deal right now. I mentioned it at the very beginning of the show when we were talking about land, but I did this, I was doing these random calls, like leads coming in from wherever. And I locked up this land deal in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And there's a house, but it's like a tear down. And I got the deal under contract with Creative Finance for $500,000 on the price, $50,000 down, and I forget the payment on it. And I thought for sure, oh, this is going to fly off the shelf because they're doing $1 million homes in this neighborhood. But I have no buyer. I don't have a buyer's list there. I don't do deals actively there. And so we say yes to 500, and then I find out that 500 is too high. So what I did is I'm looking, I'm like, okay, well, who's the buyer? Who's building around here? And there's building going on all over. And I noticed 2 doors down from this lot is an active new construction for sale. It's like 1.7 million listed. So active 2 doors down. And so I call up the agent, his name's Sarkis. And I say, hey, I've got this. And I just told him, I said, hey, I got a contract on this property. It's Creative Finance. You guys interested? And they're like, yeah, but we're pretty capitalized and we don't need to overpay for your creative deal, which a low-key small-time builder would have eaten that alive, because you're going to sit on that for a year. And so it was the deal at 500. I just couldn't find a buyer and I called around a little bit. I mean, when I say I couldn't, I put in like an hour worth of effort, right? But he said, but we'll pay cash. We'll buy that for cash. We don't need creative. We'll buy it for cash, but we got to have it at a better deal. I said, okay, what's your number? And he says, 370. We'll pay cash, 370. And I said, are you willing to commit? Commit meaning sign a contract and put non-refundable earnest money. And he says, yes. I said, okay, give me a minute and let me see what I can do. So I call her back and I said, look, the 500 is not going to work. And I told her up front, I said, I don't know if this is going to work, but I think I can make this work. So I call her back. I'm like, look, 500 doesn't work. The creative deal isn't going to work. And she's like, okay, well, what does work? And I say 350. And she goes, there's no way. She's like, she kept saying it. No way. I will sit on this property forever. I'm not selling it for a dime under 500. I said, okay, no problem. I get it. I would do the same if I were you. So she calls me back like 2 weeks later and she says, does your number still stand? And I said, well, yeah, I think so. What's going on? And she's like, well, I just got a code violation notice and they're nailing me for $800 a day unless I take care of this big laundry list of stuff. And this house is like falling down. It's not habitable. Her son's in a trailer, like an RV trailer, in the yard and using the bathroom because you can't even, like, it's bad. And she's got to fix a fence and there's peelings, paint, and like there's like a whole list. So anyway, I'm like, okay, well, we can help you with that. We can get this done. Give me a minute. Let me call you back. So I call back Sarkis and I'm like, hey, I can make 370 work, but you got to commit to it because I'm not signing with her unless I know your firm. So he's like, okay, send me wire, send me contract. I'll sign right now. So I'm like signing both, right? So he's signing. I go back to her and I'm like, okay, 350. And then we also like get some help for her to try to get her stuff done. She failed her first inspection. We're about to do the second one, but we're supposed to close like next week. But literally, guys, this is me. I took a lead. It was a PPL lead. I quickly on the phone ran numbers, got a contract, didn't work, renegotiated it, found the buyer. All of that, though, virtually never seeing anything, just knowing where to look and who to talk to and how to like just connect the dots. Like what you were doing with Steve Trang and Jamil. If you're to be really good at wholesaling, you're just connecting the dots is all. You're talking to this person, you know there's someone else that's going to want that. The one that wants that's too lazy or too busy, doesn't have the time, whatever reason. I mean, that guy, they could have easily gone and knocked on the door or whatever and said, hey, do you want to sell your tear down house? We're buying. But they're not set up for that. That's not what they do. It's not how they operate. But I was willing to do that. And so like people overcomplicate this way too much. If you really strip it down, guys, it's literally like what Pace said. hey, I know this guy's got deals and I know this guy buys deals. How do I connect these two and make money? Like, that's it.
It's interesting to me, people that are like, wait, I don't understand wholesale, and they act like it's hard. Look, everything in your life was sold to you through a wholesaler. Everything. Okay. You go to Amazon. Amazon is nothing but a wholesaler. And everything you buy on Amazon is a wholesale transaction. They have the people who made the product. They buy it at a wholesale price. They sell it to you at a retail price, right? And so they are the middleman. They're connecting. That's all Amazon is. They are a wholesaler. They wholesale.
That's all
stuff.
Walmart is. It's all Walmart is.
Same thing.
Anybody.
Now, some of them get really smart. Amazon gets smart. Costco gets smart, and they go, okay, what are the items that people are buying the most? Those are the things we will create in-house, and we will go vertical on this. And a good example of that is like, when you start wholesaling, it's a gateway drug. It starts showing you what is going on in your local area. So what happens is a lot of times you'll go, all right, I'm wholesaling a lot. I see what's happening. I see what's happening in the marketplace. You're in the river. You're in the stream. You feel the flow. You see what people want. You see what's going on. You hear the conversations. Then you can go, oh, okay, so people are making a lot of money fixing and flipping in this area. And some of my fix and flippers are kind of losing their butt in this area, like Sun City West and other places like in Arizona. They slow down during certain parts of the year and people don't want to buy there. So you then start cherry picking what deals you want to flip, and you go, all right, I'm not going to wholesale this one. Every 10 deals I do, I'll flip it, and I'll flip the ones that I know are going to make $100,000 or $150,000. And that one flip is like Amazon going, all right, we can make these cords that people keep selling over and over and over and over. We'll make a little bit more money on them. It's happening around you everywhere you look. Yeah. Somebody sold something to you via wholesale.
I got a buddy, Pace. You'll like this. He lives in Mesa actually, and he sells used books on Amazon, and he makes $150,000 a year. He loves it. It's fun. And what he does, his number one niche is he buys college books right after the semester, because all those kids dump those books right for $25 or whatever. He buys them all. Then he resells them used back when they're back in season again the next term. And he literally makes like $100 a book, and he's doing volume, and he's doing other things in between the seasons there. But those are his two biggest things. And it's books, it's used college books. And he's, you know what I mean? Like, that's it. And he puts them on Amazon. He sells them on Amazon. That's it. And he's, yeah. You know, and he works from home, like no employees and stuff.
I've got a deal going on right now. It's a Gator deal. And I get a call I get a call Thursday. Okay. Thursday morning, I get a call from one of the Gator members, and they go, hey, I have a guy that needs $1 million by tomorrow. And I go, okay, what's the story? And they go, the guy's a developer. He's developing an RV park. It's his own RV park, and he needs $1 million to pay a bunch of bills, but his lender that's bringing money to the table is delayed because he's in Florida. And there's all these tornadoes, and they're down for a week, but he has a lending commitment and a this and a that, but he has to pay these bills. It's $1 million. And I go, yeah, no problem. How much is he willing to pay? And he goes, I don't know. Do you want to talk to him? I go, sure. Like, this is how easy this is. They put me on the phone with the borrower. I talk to the borrower, and the borrower says, what do you want? I go, I want 30%. And he goes, okay, so you want me to pay you $300,000, and even though I only need the money for like 10 days, I go, yep. Either my money's a good fit for you or it's not. And he goes, okay, no problem. Let's do the contract. Here's my leverage. Here's my collateral. Here's my this, that, and the other. Da, 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 da. We dock it up. We wire the money. The referring party makes $50,000 just putting two people together, and I make $300,000. And I'm sitting here going, like, if people just knew how to connect two people and monetize it, that's all this really, that's all wholesaling is. That's all Gator is. That's all anything freaking is. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Pace, one of the coolest things you do is when you do a meetup, you say, okay, who's got deals? Raise your hand. People raise their hand. Okay. Who's got money to fund deals? People raise their hand. Okay. You guys all talk to each other. Next thing you know, like the whole room's doing deals. Remember at BP Con, which one was it? You and I were there. You literally,
it was like the one in Orlando. Yeah.
you literally like call, like one of your students is like, hey, I got a deal. You get on the phone. You're like, okay, does anybody in here want to fund this deal? People raise their hand. You're like, okay, how much do you want for your deal? In like 10 minutes, you put a deal together and all the funding, 100% funded and everything. And it's just connecting dots. Like if you're willing to connect the dots, you will absolutely annihilate it. I left a comment to a video for JP, that comment you had up just now. And it was he asked about how do I get better at ARV? And my initial response when people ask me about how to analyze better is stop. Just stop. You don't need to do that. Like 90% of your work with sellers is just making a low offer or low enough offer. That's going to weed out 99% of people because they're going to say no. Follow up with creative finance maybe. But like you don't need to start analyzing until you're down to where you're like, okay, I think we have a deal here. This thing's really low. I'm half of Zillow or whatever. Now, during due diligence or now maybe at the time of contract, now I need to know my numbers really well. You don't need to know the numbers to make an offer. You need to know the numbers to buy. And you don't buy until they accept your low offer in wholesale real estate. So stop worrying about making sure your buy number is right and just make a low offer. And you'll save so much time. You'll make so many more offers. You'll get so many more deals if you stop analyzing and just make low offers.
It's such a fun business to be in. So 2 weeks ago, I did this thing for the subto community called the No One Left Behind Challenge. And I was like, all right, let's pair up. Let's build a team. So I started from scratch. It was on Monday. I had no leads. And I had Myron Briley generate leads by just sending out letters of intent to agents. I ended up getting 30 calls over, let's see, I did 2 hours. I did 10 hours of calls in 5 days, making 30 total calls. We locked up 7 contracts live. I did that. Every call was live. Every appointment was set live. Everything was recorded and put all together. And we made $130,000 in a week. On market, currently listed on the MLS, 30 phone calls, 7 contracts, will make $130,000.
Amazing.
And
what's cool about how you did that too, Pace, was it's the same philosophy I just said. You guys are sending a blind letter of intent. So it's not even a real offer. It's basically just a, hey, here's a number. And the reason why you're sending that is not to get a deal. Like, that's not why we do this. We don't make an offer to get a deal. You make an offer to uncover motivation. So what you did is you sent those offers back, and then the agents that were very interested, motivated, knew their seller was motivated, called. So now what did you do? You weeded out all the non-motivation. You got right to the motivation. You're on the phone talking to real sellers that are really motivated, and you just cut right to the front of the line by doing that. Now you're doing real conversations, real deals, because you figured out a way to just cut through all the crap and get to the motivation. Guys, if you're not finding the motivation, you're wasting your time. Like I see people on the phones and they're on the phone for half an hour. I do these calls with my students and they're talking on the phone for half an hour. They're asking how old the roof is. Who freaking cares about any of that? Are they highly motivated to sell? That's the number one thing you want to find out. Are they highly motivated to sell? There's only one way to really find out if someone's motivated. You can do all the other stuff and have an amazing sales presentation, but the only way to really, really know if somebody's motivated is put a number in front of them and see what they do. If they're like, well, I can't pay 150, but I might pay 160. And you know that's numbers rock bottom, it's half of the Zillow number or whatever, then okay, let's dance. Let's talk about it now. Maybe now let's talk about the roof, but you don't need to do any of that if you don't even know you have somebody highly motivated.
Yeah. The whole week, all 30 of my calls, the average call was about 20 minutes. Not one call did I ask them about the house. Not one call did I ask about the condition of the home. Not one call did I ask them about how many bedrooms and baths and all that kind of crap. When was the air conditioning updated? Never asked them one of those questions. And we still got 7 contracts. And what was interesting is there was a bunch of the agents that reached back out after our blind offer that were offended by the offer. And I said, well, the point of the offer is to get your attention. So it looks like that worked. And now that we got 2 smart adults on the phone together, why don't we figure out how to make it? I said, why don't we figure out how to make money together, even if it isn't about this house?
Yeah, that's so funny, Pace. I had an agent tell me one time, I'm super offended at your low offer. And I said, well, I'm super offended at your high ask price. Like, who cares? Like, so you know what I mean? Like, are we really going to have a conversation like, or what are we, children here? What are we, middle schoolers? You're offended at my low offer? Dude, you're like $150,000 overpriced right now, and you're offended at my low offer. Or do you want to just have a conversation like adults? Is your seller interested in talking about a real cash offer or not? If they're not, I get it. We can be buddies. You know, like, what do you mean you're offended? I just, that one just gets me. So, and honestly, they're not offended, right?
They're not offended. It's just a line to give you. But
yeah,
I had a lady during the challenge 2 weeks ago. She says to me, I'm just a little bit offended. She goes, I don't know how to handle your offer. I'm just a little bit offended by it. And I said, well, we could be offended, or we could figure out how to make money together, even if it's not on this house. What do you prefer? And she's like, what do you mean not on this house? I go, here's what I can do. I'm curious. You're a real estate agent. I'm not a real estate agent. You get expired listing leads and you get other leads and opportunities, right? She goes, yeah. I go, how many expired listing leads do you currently have in your database that you have not followed up with? And she's like, oh, 4,000. And I go, perfect. Why don't we have one of my team members or even myself follow up with your expired listing leads? And why don't we collaborate on those leads? And she's like, you guys would do that? I go, yeah. I go, I imagine it's really hard for you to recruit an agent to do the cold calling on your leads for you. Why don't you just let my team do it? And we'll see if we can lock them some deals. And if I find somebody who needs a listing, you get the listing, you pay me $500. And if we find somebody that wants to do sub-2 or seller finance or even a cash offer, I'll bring you in as a partner. And she's like, when can we meet?
When can we do this?
So she comes into my office on Monday last week, right after the challenge. And she spends 3 hours with me. And it was one of those day with paces that I was doing is on Monday. And she goes, who are all these people with you? I go, oh, these are just people I do deals with. They're from all over the country. They're just like people from the sub-2 community. They come in from out of town, 15 people a week. And she's like, where are you guys going? And I go, we're going to go do tactical gun training right now with a SEAL team. And she's like, can I go with you? And I said, this is my reply to her. I go, I thought you were offended by my cash offer.
Not
Guys,
anymore. Now you're buddies.
It doesn't matter.
And you know what? Here's what for everybody that's hung up on condition, everyone's hung up on condition. Like, how do I make an offer if I don't know the repair number? Because I need to factor that into my offer. No, you don't. Here's what I say to a seller. I say, look, my offer price is already factoring in that we're going to renovate the house. Because maybe you think the kitchen's good enough, but what we do is we come in and we make it all new. So my offer price is already assuming that we're going to do everything. I really don't need to know about your furnace or your roof. Although once we have a deal and once we sign a contract, I need a few days. I'm going to send out my team. We're going to get eyes on it. And all we're looking for is if there's anything going on that we don't know about right now, like a foundation issue or it's burnt down or whatever, right? Like, so tell me if there's something weird going on that I need to know about outside of just fixing everything, then let me know. Okay, nothing's going on. Great. This number then factors that in. And you should be making offers low enough to where there's room in there for whoever you wholesale it to come in there and do all new everything. So then if you think about things from that perspective, like I'm making a low enough offer that there is a buyer that's going to salivate for this deal. They're going to bend over backwards. I'm going to make a 25K assignment all the way up to a 40K assignment on this deal. That's how good of a deal I got. Who freaking cares if it needs a roof or not? It doesn't matter anymore. That's how we want to approach the business. Or at least if you want to make this brain dead easy, that's how you should approach it. And stop worrying about condition. That doesn't mean you're not going to get eyes on it. It doesn't mean you're not going to eventually figure out, well, what's the right repair number? Is it 60 or is it 80? But that's during due diligence. I don't do that till due diligence. I don't look at pictures. I don't ask about the house. I don't do any of that crap. I just make an offer really low and try to get a good deal. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
it. Before we wrap up for the day, if you guys don't mind me promoting something today, I'd love to promote the biggest meetup I'm planning that we've ever done. We are going to be doing on voting day, November 6th in Central Park, New York City. We are going to do the biggest meetup we've ever done. Go to whereispace.com and check out other meetups we're doing. I've got like 15 others planned. Next summer, I'm also doing 50 states in 50 days with my wife and my kids. We're going to go do 50 meetups in 50 days in 50 states.
Wow.
Yeah. I've got this plan for the Sub2 community is to find the most creative investor inside the Sub2 community over the last 5 years and crown them the creative king or queen, whatever. Omar says, can I come to the meetup? Omar, I'm curious. Why would I promote a meetup that you are not allowed to come to? Okay.
You must not know Pace if you don't know the answer to that. Pace,
yes.
How are you doing 50? So I read, have you heard of the Iron Cowboy? He's out of Utah. He did 50 Iron. Okay, so he did 50 Ironmans in 50 days. Now, the only way that worked was he started in like Hawaii. They flew to Alaska, then he flew to and then he hit the States. But they RV'd the whole thing. There's no way to do it unless you RV. Are you RVing 50 states in 50 days?
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to do, I'm cheating. So it'll be more like 49 states or 49 states in, I'm sorry, 50 states in like 53 days. So what we're going to do is we're going to do Hawaii for 2 days. I have never done a meetup in Hawaii ever. I haven't been to Hawaii in probably 15, 20 years. Okay. So we're going to go Hawaii first. It'll be July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd is when I start it. I go home, do 4th of July in Montana with you. I then go to Idaho is my next stop. I'll be with Tony Robbins on July 6th and July 7th next summer. And then right after that party I have with him, I go around the country. So it'll end up taking me about 53 days. But I will end in Alaska, where you and I are going to compete with each other and fight over who's the best real estate investor on the planet.
Ooh. Hey, that smack talk I did on Instagram got some attention.
I know, it's great.
People might want to see that.
I was like, he's being way too nice. He's like complimenting me, and I'm like, he needs to talk a little bit more schmack. So
well, I said you could sell ice to an Eskimo.
I know it was complimentary. I was like, how dare you talk crap about me and then give me a compliment? So guys, what I'm doing is everybody in the community, Sub2 Gator, Top Tier TC. I'm actually going to manually text everybody in the community and let them know about this. We have Jim Quick coming to the community next week, then Dan Martell, Cody Sanchez, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and a bunch of other cool people that like wrap up and finalize the year. And build momentum for next year and just give you guys a bunch of amazing value. But I want everybody to know that for the 50 days and 50 states, 50 days, that's going to happen next summer. My wife, my kids are going to be in the Airstream with me, and we are going to RV all 50 states. It will be crazy chaos. I'm sure it'll be, breakdowns and all sorts of things, and things will happen and whatnot. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm going to take all the stories of all the creative deals that have been done over the last 5 years. It's basically a celebration of since we launched Sub2 is a 5-year anniversary. So I'm basically doing a 5-year anniversary. So it's 5 years, 50 states, 50 days. And in every state, I'm going to do a massive meetup, and we're going to get the 4 most creative deals that have been done in the last 5 years prior to the meetup submitted, and those 4 will be voted on the day that I'm at the meetup. So we crown the most creative investor of that state. Then I move to the next state and so on and so forth. And at the end of the 50 days, we're going to have the top 50 most creative deals, 1 per state, that the whole community will vote on which one was the most creative deal, and that person will become the most creative investor.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. How fun.
Should be a lot of fun. So if you guys are ever curious where I'm going, what I'm doing, where I'm speaking, etc., tomorrow I'm also doing a wholesaling class inside my office, and I'm doing a raising private capital class. I raised $25 million last year. I know a thing or two about raising capital. Go to whereispace.com, and you can see all the links to all the things I'm up to. Jerry, what do you have going on that we can promote?
Well, we've got a few spots left with this thing Jamil and I are doing. We're doing this agent workshop. So we're going to be doing a live tomorrow. Jamil and I are going to try to do like a live once a week together. And you know how fun it is to do stuff with Jamil. You do a lot more stuff with him than I get to. But like I was telling everybody, we did this, him and I were just calling agents, like taking turns back and forth. And in between, we're like joking and laughing and making fun and stuff. And it was just a great time. It just reminded me of how much better this is when you do it with others versus do it alone.
Yes.
And anyway, so that's exciting. So guys, watch. I forget what time we're doing it, but I'm doing a live with Jamil tomorrow. And what else we got going on? Yeah, just back in Puerto Rico. So looking to get back in the swing of things here. So
how's your big project going?
Good. I went there this evening right before it got dark, and man, you should see it. It's crazy. We're doing the walls on the final floor. So it's 4 stories. We got to do the walls, ceiling, roof, and then we'll have they call it phase 1, our shell done. And we're hoping to be there at that stage by end of the year, and then start working on the inside and be done by summer is our goal. So
what's your when are you and I hanging out? I know you're coming to Boston to Owners Club.
Yep. That's in a couple weeks.
I'm coming to your marriage retreat in February, correct?
Okay. Yep. So we're doing a couples retreat, our second one in Valentine's Day next year. So mid-February. And we got some spots open for that too, guys. So be sure to check that out as well. If you guys are interested, reach out. But, and I think Amory and I are going to be talking a little bit about, how to be a power couple at Boston. So excited. Maybe we can talk more about the retreat then, but yeah, but that's exciting.
Is there a link for the retreat? Do you guys have a link and a landing page for this yet or no?
Yeah. Yep.
I know that there's like a handful of subto community members that have already signed up for it. So
yeah, you've had like Ingrid came to the last one, and a handful of other in the subto.
No. You Anne Marie told me that you already have people buying tickets for the February one.
Yeah, it's open right now to sign up. Yep, we've got some spots.
How do they get there?
Let me look up the link because you know me. I can pop it in the chat.
Yeah, Chris Ritter says, please post the link. Wesley Pipe says, dang, I need to get a wife so I can go to that. Bro, go to Puerto Rico.
Marlon came and he's not married, which was funny. Marlon from Subto, from your community?
Of course, yeah. Marlon hangs out at my house and drives my car frequently.
I love Marlon. I gotta find it. I don't know where it's at. I gotta find it.
Guys, if you're interested in the what's up, Maximilian Deer? What's up, brother? Good to see you, man. He's freaking solid member of the community.
Yeah, great content you guys did.
Yeah, that was good. The other day he did like $200,000 in Gator transactions in like a couple of months, which is pretty cool, and does a lot of creative deals and awesome. He's working on this amazing calculator for the community. I'm really excited about it. I'll show it to you too. It might be something you want to give away to your people as well. But if you guys are interested in the marriage retreat, I will actually be there myself. I'm attending. I'm buying a ticket. I will be there. DM Jerry on Instagram, and Jerry will get you guys the link over there. And without further ado, we will see you guys next week on Wholesale Hotline. And before we leave, I want to remind you guys that Get Creative is coming back on Sunday nights. Just like I did for 4 years, we will be back Sunday nights, 7 p.m. Arizona time, all about creative finance and people that are actively doing the deals. We will be breaking down a deal every week and how it got done, whiteboard videos, all that kind of stuff, all live Sunday nights. And I'll see you guys next week on Wholesale Freaking Hotline. Later, guys.
Or just say squat up.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So squat up and enjoy the show.